What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. DL Hughley called Officer Tatum race baiter, and Tatum fired back by calling DL the lamest comedian in comedy. But this is bigger than two grown men trading insults. This is about why so many people believe Officer Tatum only shows up to black tragedy after he finds a way to blame the black people inside of it.
This is Brandon Tatum.
Y'all just see what unfunny ex-comedian DL Hughley just said about me. Posted a picture of me and my wife. To do what? To be a racist? You are the lamest dude in all of comedy.
What is more lame than calling yourself the job you used to have? You're not an officer anymore. You were a football player who failed at being a football player. You didn't make the team, so you became an officer. That wasn't working out, so you became an influencer. You talked about emotion. What is more emotional than this? You cried for a white dude who the people didn't even think you worthy to speak at his funeral. You said you wouldn't cry for your son, but you cried for him. That's not emotional. About how those boys are innocent, you had proof. Now, I don't know whether they're innocent or not. I don't know what happened there. But I know one conversation with a failed football player and a social media influencer is not the predicate. You don't have any toxicology report. You don't have an autopsy report. You talked about black people acting a fool. Black people are right to be suspicious of a state that took 31 years and 3 trials to prosecute and find guilty the murder of Medgar Evers. Bradley on the other. You talk to them for 2 days and now all of a sudden you know if they're guilty. You know if they're innocent. You know that. Your name is, your moniker is Officer Tatum, not Detective Tatum. You didn't make your way to detective. You're an influencer who says what white people want you to say. And don't you find it interesting that they chose to speak to you, and they chose to speak to you for the same reason that you're a conservative, for the same reason Turning Point did, because you're safe. They know you're a black man who'll do.
DL Hughley is saying out loud what a lot of black people have been saying for years. The problem is not that Tatum is conservative. Black people are allowed to be conservative. Black people are allowed to support the police, disagree with Ben Crump, question Al Sharpton, and reject whatever political party they want. The problem is the pattern. Every time a black family questions the system, Tatum appears to start from the position that the family is being misled. The activists are grifting. The attorneys are race baiting. The media is lying. The police are being unfairly attacked. And the black person at the center of the story somehow becomes the person who needs to be investigated. When every case leads you to the same conclusion, people start wondering whether you following the evidence or just following your brain. That's what happened in this Nolan Wells case. Before Nolan's family had complete answers, Tatum climbed the highest hill he could find, grabbed a bullhorn, and started telling the public there was nothing to see here. He interviewed people from the friend group, and he gave their side a national platform. That alone was not wrong. Their side should be heard. But Tatum didn't approach the story like a man trying to find out what happened. He approached it like a man who already decided which side was lying. He questioned the family. He attacked Ben Crump. He dismissed the racial concerns. Then after spending all that time saying people needed to wait for the facts, he went online and claimed that Nolan accepted cocaine from somebody. He did not present that like a possibility. He said he was more than 100% certain. He claimed he believed it would be found in Nolan's system. He even suggested that he knew who sold it to him. But instead of taking that information directly to police investigators, he came to YouTube. That's why people don't trust his motives. He tells everybody else to stop exploiting the story while he continues turning out episodes. Tatum's own podcast feed shows that he's released a series of Nolan Wells videos. You cannot accuse everybody else of using a tragedy for attention while building a content franchise around the same tragedy. That is the contradiction that DL Hughley is attacking.
First of all, DL Hughley is not on my level. One point in time, DL Hughley used to be the man. At one point in time, I used to like DL Hughley and I thought he was funny. Now, he was not even the top 5 in the Kings of Comedy, in my opinion. But I thought I respected his game. Just to grow up and realize DL Hughley is a simp, and he's a beta, and he's a crybaby, allegedly worth $10 million, but he's still crying about the white man every day. And he crying about the white man, yet he worked for white men companies. He's so black that he don't even care about black women enough to not cheat on his wife. He posted a picture of my wife. At least I ain't cheating on my wife. He cheated on his wife, got an outside baby. And a very unfortunate situation happened with his outside baby. And he want to come at me when he wasn't even there to protect his children. Then his young daughter gets into a sexual situation with a minor, where they both were minors. And she came to her dad in confidence, her black father, in confidence, and said she was being abused and he didn't believe her. Brother, why are you talking about me? Why are you talking about me? You need to be worried about your own household. All the drama I just mentioned with his inner family ain't now one of the suspects in that situation white. A white man didn't cheat on your wife. A white man didn't abuse your daughter. And a white man didn't take the life of your infant child whom you had out of wedlock while you were married. These are all black people doing this. And D.L. Hughley, that's your stage name. You still going by your stage name, Negro. You ain't even a comedian no more, passing out on stage and stuff. You ain't even funny no more. But you going by D.L. Hughley.
You talked about it.
He said, I didn't make the team, or I didn't make it to the NFL. Okay, I don't think that's anything somebody can be sad about. And I'm also glad I don't have CTE either, so it's not all bad. You would never make it to. You won't even make it to college. You were in high school, little beta male talking about. Then I became a cop. What did I do as a cop? I protected black people with my life. D.L. Hughley is telling jokes.
Notice what Tatum does when his journalism is questioned. He starts talking about D.L. Hughley's comedy career. He calls him lame. He attacks Don Lemon. He says the media created a false narrative about his interviews. But none of that answers the main question. What verified evidence gave Tatum the right to put cocaine in a young man's hand with more than 100% certainty? Tatum says he reached out to Ben Crump. Fine. Sending somebody an email don't automatically make your coverage balanced. And Tatum saying he verified the information does not end the conversation. How was it verified? Did he see an official report? Did he speak to an investigator working on the case? Or did somebody he trusted tell him a story? Because a source can be real and still be wrong. A source can be close to the situation and still have a motive. That's why real journalism requires more than saying, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Tatum wants the authority of a former police officer when he presents information. He wants the freedom of a YouTuber when he starts speculating. And when people question him, he wants to be treated like a political victim. You can't have all three. The word officer is still in his brain. That name makes people believe he understands investigation, evidence, and proper procedure. So he should know better than presenting an unverified claim like it's an official report. He wants the badge and the branding without the burden of the proof. And this is the real reason so many people in the black community see Tatum as working against us. It's not because he disagrees with black people. We disagree with each other every day. It is because his disagreements always cater to the same audience. An audience that don't want to hear about systemic racism. An audience that does not want to question police conduct. An audience that wants to believe black people are being emotional, black leaders are running a scam, and racial injustice is something that the media invented. Tatum gives that audience a black face, saying exactly what they want to hear. Then when the black community questions him, he uses their anger as more proof that we can't handle an independent thinker. Stop it. Independent thinking means questioning your own side too. Tatum questions Nolan's family. He questions Ben Crump. He questions Al Sharpton. He questions Don Lemon. He questions D.L. Hughley, but he does not appear to apply that same suspicion to the sources who tell him what he already wants to hear. That is not independent thinking. That is selective skepticism.
A platform.
No, he does not.
So let's talk about the people, the young men that he's been interviewing. They're saying they're his best friends. Some of them you said that you don't know. One of them even said, "Oh, Nolan would be outraged by the way his parents are handling this." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, why on earth would somebody go on and say that about a grieving family?" But go.
Again, distraction. We're not even going to address them or that man. We only want the truth. Again, at the end of the day, I'm going to say it like I've been saying it. The only question we have is what happened to Nolan. That's what we need to know. That's it. That's all.
When you talk about all the...
Hold on, talk about Mama, I got a question for you. With all due respect, why then, if you want to know what happened to Nolan, did your attorney not talk to me before I ever talked to the other side? All right, we passed that point. How come when Nicole or Ashley reached out to you via text, which she showed me, which we posted online, that you didn't respond to Warren's mother to even talk to her and get any information that she may have. The boys already have been investigated by law enforcement. We will not know exactly what they said for a time period, which could be a long time. I don't know. They got to go to grand jury and everything. So we will never know what they said to the police unless you talk to them directly. Why, if you want to know what happened to your son, would you talk to the people that last seen him alive? You're saying they saw him alive last. They're reaching out to you and saying, we want to talk. Let's have a conversation. But instead, you guys did refuse to talk to them, refuse to talk to me, and then get online and push stuff that you have to later redact because you could have talked to them first and cleared it up, talked to their attorneys and cleared it up. You could have gotten all the boys' statements that have been compiled before the police put it out in the public so you can have a clear perspective before you go out in the public. But they did not do it. You know what they did? The first thing they did before they talked to any parent, any person involved, before they talked to anybody, they went and got Benjamin Crump. And they went and got Benjamin Crump. And what are they doing? The day that their son is put into the ground, they go get his estate, establish an estate, and then prepare to sue. Now, if you don't know what happened and you have not made a determination, all you want to know is what happened, then why are you prepping to sue people? You're going to sue them for what?
Nolan's mother refusing to give Tatum's name more energy may be the most powerful response in this entire feud. She ain't argue with him. She ain't give him another clip. She did not allow him to become the center of a conversation that should be about her son. That silence was not weakness. That was a grieving mother refusing to let somebody turn her pain into a debate. Tatum may say he didn't want to damage Nolan's reputation, but then he publicly attached cocaine to Nolan's name before showing the public the official evidence supporting that claim. You cannot say you were protecting a young man's reputation while using an unconfirmed allegation to push a new video on your YouTube. This is why D.L. Hughley's criticism hit so hard. D.L. did not just insult him. He challenged the entire role that Tatum plays in conservative media. Tatum presents himself as a black man that's brave enough to tell black people the truth. But a lot of black people believe his real function is to tell white conservative audiences that they never have to question themselves. The police are not the problem. The system is not the problem. Racism is not the problem. The problem is always black culture, black leadership, black families, or black people refusing to take responsibility. Personal responsibility is important. But personal responsibility cannot become a magic eraser that removes every institution from accountability. Sometimes a person makes a bad decision. Sometimes a police department handles things improperly. Sometimes a family has a legitimate reason not to trust the information they're being given. A real independent commentator should be able to hold all these possibilities at the same time. Tatum often appears to choose his conclusion first and then look for the facts to support it. That is why his straight face don't make his arguments more credible. It only makes his bias look more confident. So I'm gonna take y'all out like this. D.L. Hughley may have used a funny nickname, and Officer Tatum may have responded with insults. But the real issue is not who had the better joke. The real issue is whether Officer Tatum is covering the Nolan Wells case to find the truth, or using the case to reinforce his political views that his audience already expect from him. He said people needed to wait for the facts. Then he presented a cocaine claim with more than 100% certainty. He said other people were exploiting this case. Then he released episode after episode about it. He said his sources were legitimate. Then he left himself room to say it could just be somebody talking. He said the media was creating a false narrative, but he has been creating his own narrative from the beginning. That's why people don't trust him. Not because he's a black conservative, but because his skepticism always seems to point in one direction. He interrogates the grieving family. He interrogates the civil rights attorney. He interrogates the black commentators. But when a source gives him information that supports his position, the interrogation appears to stop. D.L. Hughley didn't create this reputation for Officer Tatum. Tatum built it one case at a time. And until he starts demanding the same standard and proof from his own side, people are going to continue to see him as a man who continues to lean to one side. He simply packages the conversation for an audience that wants black people to be the problem. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.